Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Bijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtodharashadha Shri Srimadbhagavatam Sesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtodharashadha Shri Srimadbhagavatam Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamunamai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories of the assembled devotees, all glories of the assembled devotees, all glories of the assembled devotees, all glories of Shri Guru and Shri Ranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the fourth canto. Creation of the fourth order, chapter 22. Prithu Maharaj's meeting with the Kumaras. And we're on text 25. Harir Muhus Tatpada Karnapura. Guna Bidanena Virijim Pamanaya. Bhaktya Sangha Sarasat Yanatmani
Bhaktyaya Sangha Sadasatyanatmani
Syan Nirgune Brahmani Chandrasarati
Nirgune Brahmani Chandasarati
Hare Mahushtat Parakarna Pura Guna Bidhanena Vrijambananaya Bhaktyahya Sangha Sarasat Yanatmani
Bhaktyaya Sangha Sadasatyanatmani
Syan Nirgune Brahmani Chandrasarati
Nirgune Brahmani Chandasarati
Hare Muhushtat Parakarna Pura Gunabhida Naina Virjimbanayana Bhaktyahya Sangha Sarasat Yanatmani Syan Nirgune Brahmani Chandrasarati
Hare Muhustat Parakarna Pura Gunabhidanena Vijimbamanaya Bhaktyaya Sangha Sadasatyanatmani Syam Nirgune Brahmani Chandasarati Hare Muhustat Parakarna Pura Gunabhidanena Vijimbamanaya Bhaktyaya Sangha Sadasatyanatmani Syam Nirgune Brahmani Chandasarati Hare Muhustat Parakarna Pura Gunabhidanena Vijimbamanaya Bhaktyaya Sangha Sadasatyanatmani Nirgune Brahmani Chandasarati Hare Muhustat Parakarna Pura Gunabhidanena Vijimbamanaya Bhaktyaya Sangha Sadasatyanatmani Syam Nirgune Brahmani Chandasarati
Okay, word by word translation. Hare of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Muhuhu. Constantly. Tatpara.
Tatpara.
In relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
In relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Karnapura.
Karnapura.
Decoration of the ear. Guna Abhidanena. Discussing transcendental qualities. Vijimbamanaya. By increasing Krishna consciousness. Bhaktya. By devotion. He. Certainly. Asangaha. Uncontaminated. Sat. Asati. The material world. Anatmani. Opposed to spiritual understanding. Syat. Should be. Nirgune. In transcendence. Brahmani. In the Supreme Lord. Cha. And. Anjasa. Easily. Ratihi. Attraction. Translation. The devotee should gradually increase the culture of devotional service by constant hearing of the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These pastimes are like ornamental decorations on the ears of the devotees. By rendering devotional service and transcending the material qualities, one can easily be fixed in transcendence in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. This verse is especially mentioned to substantiate the devotional process of hearing the subject matter. A devotee doesn't like to hear anything other than subjects dealing with spiritual activities or the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can increase our propensity for hearing devotional service by hearing Bhagavad Gita and srimadbhagavatam from realized souls. The more we hear from realized souls, the more we make advancement in our devotional life. The more we advance in devotional life, the more we become detached from the material world. The more we become detached from the material world, as advised by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the more we increase in attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, a devotee who actually wants to make progress in devotional service and go back home, back to Godhead, must lose interest in sense enjoyment and associating with persons who are after money and sense gratification. This is the advice of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Niskinchanasya bhagavat bhajano mukasya param param jigmashor bhava sagarasya sandarshanam vishayanam ata yoshitamcha ha hanta hanta vishabhakshanato pi asadu. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 11, text 8. The word Brahmani used in this verse is commented upon by the impersonalist or professional reciters of Bhagavatam, who are mainly advocates of the caste system by demoniac birthright. They say that Brahmani means impersonal Brahman, but they cannot conclude this with reference to the context of the word bhaktya and gunabhidanena. According to the impersonalists, there are no transcendental qualities in the impersonal Brahman. Therefore, we should understand that Brahmani means in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as admitted by Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, wherever the word Brahma is used, it must refer to Krishna, not to the impersonal Brahman effulgence. Prameti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabite. Bhagavatam. Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 11. Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan can all be taken in total as Brahman, but when there is reference to the word bhakti or remembrance of the transcendental qualities, this indicates the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not the impersonal Brahman. Om Jnanitamadandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kariravachalam Pangam Langai Tegirim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Ditaridam Vancha Kapdibishcha Kripa Sandhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, translation again. The devotee should gradually increase the culture of devotional service by constant hearing of the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These pastimes are like ornamental decorations on the ears of devotees. By rendering devotional service and transcending the material qualities, one can easily be fixed in transcendence in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do you think you could look this up, Glenn? The Chaitanya Charitamrita 11.8, quoted in the purport? Because I'd just like to read it at some point in the talk. So apparently, Srila Prabhupada said, but I never read it anywhere. I never heard it. I mean, I've heard it from devotees many times, but I've never personally read it or hear him say it. But anyways, devotees say that Prabhupada said, but it makes sense. So what he said was that the West is good for two things. He said for sense gratification and for preaching. The West, Western Hemisphere. And yeah, why is it good for preaching? Because there's so many fallen conditioned souls. I mean, it's just completely filled up. There's no shortage, right? Right? Saving all the Jagais and Madhais, of which there is no shortage. There's no shortage. So what does that mean practically? It means practically there's no shortage of preaching. Every year, for example, at the colleges, there are new kids who have, graduated high school and most likely been pushed by their parents to go to college. Thousands of them every single school year. And not just one college, but many colleges here in San Diego. 6, 7 colleges. And what to speak of all the millions of houses and apartments that are in San Diego. So, and San Diego is such a place people are always coming in as tourists, right? So you get a bunch of tourists coming to enjoy their senses. And then people are always moving away too, right? Because it's expensive. So, in other words, it's tons of people, tons of fallen souls, tons of opportunity for preaching. Prabhupada said it's great for preaching in the West. And it's great for sense gratification. Because, anyways, the facility that's available, provided you know a person knows how to fulfill their material desires. So, of course, as devotees, we want to live in the West and preach. We don't want to live in the West and gratify our senses. But yeah, it does produce a challenge because and in the lives of devotees, because in the West, it's difficult. You could say possibly it's more difficult to be Krishna conscious, because everything is just completely 360 degrees opposite to Krishna consciousness or the culture of Krishna consciousness. So it's difficult. Whereas in India, certain places in India, it's more easy, you could say, in some ways. So it produces a bit of a challenge for devotees. But one thing is, what's wrong with the challenge? There's nothing wrong with a challenge. Challenges are good. Challenges are healthy. If someone doesn't learn how to accept challenges or create challenges for themselves, they just fall into the mode of ignorance. Or mode of ignorance. Because even in the mode of passion, one is challenging themselves. Yeah, I'm going to make tons of money. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy my senses. It's a challenge, to try to enjoy your senses. So if one completely falls into the mode of ignorance, then practically they're not challenging themselves. So there's nothing wrong with challenges. They're healthy. And yeah, we all need them. So you could say living in the West provides a very big challenge for devotees. How to live up to the standard of real Krishna consciousness. And either one has to learn how to be Krishna conscious despite all the challenges, or one may, what is it called? One may compromise. One may make compromises in their Krishna consciousness. In other words, they may still have faith in Krishna, they may still worship Krishna, they may do so many things related to Krishna, but they know, or at least they should know, that they're not following or living up to the proper standard. It means they're doing things that are against Krishna consciousness. Or they just completely get, you could say, swallowed up from by the illusory energy. So it produces a challenge, and in practice it means that we have to be even more fired up, even more enthusiastic, living in the West. Because not everything, we're not going to walk down the street today and we're not going to walk down Garnet. We may walk down Garnet, but we're not going to walk down Garnet and see pictures of Krishna and see people with their hands in their bead bags and hear some Hare Krishna. People may tell us Hare Krishna, but we're not going to see a bunch of women and with their tilak on and saris and all that. You're not going to see anything like that anywhere you go in SanDiego, sorry to say. Maybe you go to somebody's house, you might see that, devotee's house. But whereas you walk outside in Vrindavan or here or there, and you'll see that, right? People chanting, people, you'll see devotees, Krishna consciousness. So yeah, it produces a challenge, and again, we have to become more enthusiastic, more intense, or else we just don't make it. It just doesn't work. We don't become Krishna conscious. So yeah, it produces a desire or a need to become more intense. And here, the challenge is being stated, and Srila Prabhupada quotes a particular verse: Niskinchanasya bhagavat bhajano mukasya param jigmashur bhava sagrasya sandarshanam vishayanam ata yoshitam cha ha hanta vishabhakshanatop sadhu. So if you could please give me that, I could read it. This is the challenge that living in the West specifically, of course the whole world is being influenced by the West, but we're at the, we're in the heart, or you could say the capital, one of the capitals of sense gratification in the world, Southern California. So it says, the Lord informed Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, alas, for a person who is seriously desiring to cross the material ocean and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material motives. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to we're trying to develop a serious desire to cross the material ocean, right? And engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material motives. In other words, pure devotional service. That's what we're all about. Crossing the material ocean and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So he says, for a person who is like that, which means us, right, we hope, what does it say next? It says that seeing a materialist engage in sense gratification, or seeing a woman who is similarly interested is more abominable than drinking poison willingly. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, in the material world, the via media for sense gratification is mainly a woman. Of course, money too, Prabhupada mentions in the purport, in the fourth canto. One who is seriously interested in spiritual life should strictly avoid women. A sannyasi should never see a man or a woman for material benefit. In addition, talks with materialistic men and women are also dangerous, and they are compared to drinking poison. Mahaprabhu is very strict on this point. He therefore refused to see King Prataparudra, who was naturally always engaged in political and economic affairs. The Lord even refused to see the king despite the request of a personality like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was the Lord's intimate friend and devotee. So yeah, it's mainly, right, for at least men. The the media for sense gratification is women and money. And he says one who seriously, he's talking to, about men who seriously interested in spiritual life should strictly avoid women. A sannyasi should never see a man or woman for material benefit. So, what is it saying? I mean, Prabhupada, he saw many women, Prabhupada talked with many women, right? But Prabhupada wasn't doing it for sense gratification. And he was, despite doing that, how he would operate or how he would deal with them was still, he would deal with them carefully. Means not too casually. Why? Because one is it's against principle for renunciates and also householders. I mean, householders are also not, it's advised for them, okay, they deal with their wife, but any other woman they don't deal with, practically speaking. Or they deal with very carefully, means not casually. Why? Because this, by association, desires are created, and those desires will hijack our consciousness. And before you know it, although we want to be Krishna conscious, we won't be able to. We'll be conscious of sense gratification. And the problem with sense gratification is that it's against the nature of the soul, which means that it's a program which really doesn't have anything to do with God. I mean, when you're enjoying your senses, or when we're enjoying our senses, it has nothing to do with God. It has to do with our senses. That's all it has to do with. Like people, I mean, of course we're supposed to be Krishna conscious when we take prasadam and all that, but when people eat, they're not thinking of God, they're not remembering God, they're just, it's the food and it's the tongue, and it's the combination of the both and then in the belly, right? And all sense gratifications like that, it has nothing to do with God, really. So, and the chief of all that sense gratification, at least for a man speaking here, is a woman. So the idea is that we want to be careful when we're living in this world, which we won't live in this world forever, right? At least that's the idea. Not, to stop cycling, right? Cycle of birth and death. The idea is that while we're living in this world, we want to be careful not to become bewildered and not lose our Krishna consciousness and become just conscious of our senses. Which, practically speaking, that's really the business of the animals, to be just conscious of their senses and sense gratification, just like a lusty animal. I mean, by definition, animals are just completely concerned with their senses and sense gratification. It had nothing to do with God. So the more one is like that, the more it's just not good. It's bad. So we want to, instead of gratifying our senses, we want to gratify Krishna's senses. That's what it means. That's what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says the definition of prema is. The desire to gratify Krishna's senses is prema, and the desire to gratify one's own senses is kama, lust. Which Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita is the eternal enemy, all-devouring, sinful enemy of this world. And we see people, they're a mess. Here you go, Glenn. They are a mess. They are emotionally a mess, spiritually, physically, just complete mess. Why? Just they can't control their senses. Too much sense gratification. And nowadays it's like a complete madhouse of sense gratification, which there's no such, practically for a lot of people nowadays, especially in Southern California, there's this idea of like actually being committed to one partner is just, it's like out the window. It's just, it's a hookup culture, which is absolutely for an individual emotionally and everything, it just completely makes them a mess, literally a mess. So this is the nature of sense gratification, that it just really doesn't work. It's unnatural, actually. So therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, he doesn't say it's unnatural, he says for somebody who's trying to cross the ocean, of material ocean, and engage in the transcendental service of Krishna, he said it's worse, it's just like drinking poison willingly. So you get some poison and you drink it. So in other words, it's killing the individual. So so the idea is just to stop trying to enjoy separately from Krishna. And how are we supposed to do that? We're supposed to do that by associating with sadhus. If we don't associate with sadhus, we will willingly drink poison life after life. We may not even want to. You could say willingly, but it's like you're forced to. Just like excuse the analogy, but just like a hog. I mean, it's not like an option what the guy eats. He's forced to eat abominable things just by nature, by his nature. We won't discuss what he eats, but he's forced to eat that. So similarly, if somebody doesn't learn how to be Krishna conscious or control, right, then they're forced just by nature to do all types of things that are just abominable. And they know it's abominable, but they're forced to. So how are we supposed to get out of this sadhu sangha, right? Sarvashashtakoya. By serving by associating with the sadhus, that will actually solve the whole problem altogether. Associating with sadhus. So that means hearing, that means chanting with sadhus, hearing from sadhus, that means serving, right? Subjecting our consciousness to their association solves the whole problem. And also it says in the 11th canto, I believe it says that the sadhus, by their words, they can cut the strong attachments within the heart. Right? So, associating with sadhus. Because what happens when, sadhus get together, right? Madchita, madgata, prana, bodhiyataspadaspodam, katyantashtamam nitya, tushanti cha, ramanti cha. They get together and they discuss Krishna. They get together, they discuss Krishna consciousness. And this way they nourish each other's devotion and they make advancement. So, and then we have Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, so many other books, and it says that Prabhupada says that we should hear from sadhus, some realized souls, and the more we hear, the more we make advancement in spiritual life. And the more we make advancement in spiritual life, the more we become detached from the material world, which the material world means sense gratification. Spiritual world is Krishna, gratifying Krishna's senses, and material world is gratifying our own senses. So the more we hear, the more we become detached from sense gratification, from this material world. And the more we become detached from this material world, as advised by Lord Chaitanya, the more we increase in attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So by hearing, we become attached to Krishna. And actually, we could actually develop our natural affection or pure love for Krishna. Just like Rukmini, she never met Krishna, but she heard about Krishna over and over and over again, and she developed a desire to marry him. And then she sent a letter to him, and he came and kidnapped her, captured her, and rode off on his chariot. Quite a scene in the Bhagavatam. So that's the advice. And then the more, So that's the program, and if somebody follows it, then it'll work. And And the opposite is that, yeah, if we don't follow it, then, yeah, we just remain interested in sense enjoyment. Which, sense enjoyment, it's not free. It's not like a free ticket or something. It means that we have to pay for sense gratification. What I mean by that is that, for example, okay, we have our senses, they have urges, we gratify them, we forget God throughout our life. And what does that mean? It means we don't go back to Godhead. And we pay. What do we pay? We have to pay another birth, death, disease, and old age. That's our reward for too much sense gratification. Birth, death. So in other words, we get punished. That's what I'm saying. It's not like a free pass where, okay, engage in all the sense gratification you want and everything's going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay. Engage in all the sense gratification you want and you're going to get another birth, death, disease, and old age ticket. Right? Another round trip ticket. Round trip, samsara ticket. So if we use our intelligence, we should use our intelligence to think, well, this isn't a good proposal. I'm being cheated here. This is a scam, right? I'm being completely cheated. This is a scam. Like people, whatever, all this is on sale, right? It's on sale, order it, right? And then you order it, and then they just somehow they scam your credit card and take some money, right? And then they don't give you the product. It's a scam. Or, God knows, there's so many scams going on all over the world. Like someone called my grandmother. It's really weird, but, because I called her the other day and I said, hey, Grandma, my father's mother, she lives here in San. I said, hey, Grandma, this Bronson, how you doing? And she goes, who is it? What's going on? And I said, this is Bronson. Who? And I was thinking, because she's a sharp lady. She's not like losing it or something. She's a sharp lady. She's in her, maybe late 70s, maybe early 80s, but she's, still has her mind. So I was going, what on earth is going on here? And then I said, this is Bronson. She said, oh, okay. Oh, hi, Bronson. Oh, how you doing? And I said, why was there this hesitation to believe me or something? Or to, like you were forgetting. And she said, oh, well, I had somebody call me the other day. And she said, and then they said, oh, hello, Grandma. And then my grandmother said, oh, who is this? And she said, oh, this is your nephew. And then she goes, which nephew? Because, she has a lot of nephews, nieces. Which nephew? Oh, Grandma, yeah, this is your nephew. I lost my wallet. I need you to send me some money, So she said, oh, no, forget about it. So they were just trying to scam her, I don't know how they would do that, but, hey, Grandma, give me your credit card number or something. Oh, nephew. I mean, grandson. This is your grandson, she was saying. Sorry. So yeah, it's a scam. So in this world, there's a lot of scamming going on, actually. The highest governmental posts, scamming, right, to the lowest, the homeless guys on the street, scamming, stealing each other's bikes or drugs or God knows what, right? Scamming going on. In the middle, right, middle class, so there's a bunch of scamming going on. So we shouldn't be surprised that within life itself means within philosophy, also religion, so many things. There's scamming going on. So there's an idea that we're actually being cheated, life after life, by the illusory energy, convincing us we're being cheated by materialistic people, right? Asadhus. They're convincing us, oh yeah, just gratify your senses, forget about God, right? It's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Well, that's not what the Bhagavatam says. The Bhagavatam says opposite. The 5th canto doesn't say it's going to be okay. Or just, even if you forget the 5th canto, you could say, even if you don't have to experience all that, but still, just go on another round, around another time. Verses like the spiritual world, and eternal knowledge and bliss, and with Krishna, and every word is they don't talk. but they sing. They don't walk, but they dance, right? The nectarian, water's like Krishna's there playing his flute, right? It's a, by description, wonderful place. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is within his book saying, don't be cheated, don't be cheated, don't be cheated. Just surrender to Krishna, you won't be a loser. You'll be a winner. And that's what's being advised. So, and the process to hear and chant, hear from sadhus, realized souls, and in this way we make more and more advancement. So, all right, does anybody have any questions or comments?
Sorry, I always have a comment. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Comments are good.
Prabhupada would also make the point about this, about the, because when he came to America, and after a while he had some disciples, and he'd go around the world, and he would always use them as examples.
Yeah.
How you see how they were so dirty and unhappy on the street, hippies and this and that, and now look, they're shining, and like that, they're examples.
Yeah.
So he would make the point that even from a material point of view, Krishna consciousness it makes sense over time. In other words, obviously we're giving up what people call sense gratification. But I mean, just from my own experience, I can see how all of the pitfalls and the craziness that I was saved from in my 45 years of Krishna consciousness. I mean, the dangers of getting entrapped by different kinds of drugs, and as you mentioned, relationships. Now it's even much worse. When I joined, it was still bad. People were just going from this one to that one. And the emotional trauma, the financial trauma. From getting marriage, and then suddenly your money isn't there, and people cheat you. And it's just I just look back on that, and I'm so thankful just on the material level. The regulated, just the wholesome life of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada would also preach about that. What to speak of the eternal rewards that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So that was something. And this verse, Nishkinchanasa Bhagavat Bhajano Mukasya, he says it just to see the vishayis, the sense gratifiers, and men and women. It's so poisonous. Mm-hmm. And we're surrounded by that. I mean, frankly, this would be the last place to really, if you're really thinking, to have a brahmacharya ashram. 3 blocks from the Southern California beach. No. Maybe inland a little bit. Mm-hmm. And yet, the devotees are maintaining here. We have, in years gone by, there were 50, 60, devotees. Even those who were not officially brahmacharis were still, way more controlled than people. So it's possible to do that when you get the higher taste. That's what this is all about, this whole passage. When you cultivate this consciousness of, what is it? Hare Guna, Hare Murasta Parakarna Pura, that you make the ornaments for your ears, the qualities of Hari, and increasingly, and then Bhaktya Asanga, you become detached, and you can actually be very happy in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Sure. Yeah, it's yeah, it's like you're saying, we're like surrounded. It's we're surrounded. It's like a war, and we're like surrounded by all the But I guess therefore Prabhupada always say, right? Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Kevalam, Kalalnastevanasta. Just take shelter of the holy name. Right, Radhagiri Dari too. I was talking to Bhakti Swami, and when I was there in the retreat there in North Carolina, and I was speaking with Maharaj and asked him some questions about just Krishna consciousness and how to stay, try to stay fixed and all that. And he said, "Oh, you have those beautiful deities, Radhagiri Dari," which is quite amazing because he travels all over the world and he remembers Radhagiri. So he said, "You have those beautiful deities, Radhagiri Dari." He said, "Those are very special deities." He said, "You should just, go before the deities and pray to them and worship them and focus on them." And so they're very helpful. to one's Krishna consciousness. And also, Bhajanarayan Swami also mentioned a point to me some time ago about in Krishna consciousness there might be some like challenges or difficulties or whatever. And then he made the point that if you have like your Ishtadev, like the Lord of your heart, and he was saying that if you have some deities that you're surrendered to, or he said that that's very helpful. I have Radha Giridhari here, and a lot of our Goswamis, they would have their deities. Yeah, they would carry their deities, or they would have their temple that they were really attracted to, like Radha Raman, right, was Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and so many others. So that's there as well. All right, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki.